This video is brought to you by Smart Money Parenting. Educate your kids about money. More on them at the end of this video. Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to look at my past video about 10 months ago, why poor people shouldn't have kids. And out of all my videos so far, this is probably the most controversial and divisive video on my channel. You can see here it's decent, 3,000 views, but I only have 1,000 subscribers. But you can see here the likes and the dislikes. Look at that ratio. Why are there 42 people? It was less likes before, but it's a little bit better now when people finally understand what the purpose of this video is. If you just looked at the title, Why Poor People Shouldn't Have Kids, of course it's going to sound very conservative, very Republican, very anti-poor, but that's not the purpose of this video. If you watch this video, you'll understand. But in this video, I do want to check out and read some of the comments. A lot of them do agree with me and a lot of them don't. And we'll see if you have a better, clearer understanding of what's going on so you can, watch the video and be educated about it. If you can't live, this is from Kike. If you can't live on 50% of your income, don't invest children into the hell you live in. Okay. That is true. Totally agree with that. Having kids you can't afford is by far the fastest way to poverty. That's the point of this video. And yeah, there's a lot of people. Look at, how about this one? By Shimagen. Hello, in my country, poor people consider it a sin and a mental issue to not wanting to have kids. The poor are very miserable, but they have more than 4 kids. If you try to advise them to stop having kids, they're gonna refuse angrily, claiming that their God will take care of them, but very soon they start begging. What a joke. I can't tolerate that or help them. That is true. This is especially prevalent in poorer countries. And I did make another video called Religion Creates Poverty, and one of the main issues why it creates poverty is because of them wanting, enforcing them, encouraging them to have kids. Sunita Maharaj. I agree, children are a costly affair. If you're not financially stable, stop. I can't tolerate those poor families with too many children who spend a lifetime on welfare, and the cycle continues. Yes, that's what I've been saying. Poverty, the root cause of poverty is bringing a child into the world that does not have the financial advantages of someone who was raised in a richer family. It's not about poor versus rich, it's about the kids. I told my parents that due to lack of money I'm not having kids, which they thought it was selfish. Grandparents are brainwashed by emotional feelings. Yes, that is true. There is a social stigma to having kids. And if you say you're not going to have kids, then, you're ostracized, even though the reason you're not having kids, such as a financial thing, which is actually smart, but people don't understand that. If everyone was made sterile at birth and only allowed to reverse it once reaching a certain age with financial stability and no criminal record, this world would be 100 times better than it is now. I have replied to all these comments, most of them I think. And I don't really go into that answering. I just say interesting. Yeah, that's good. Sometimes I will if it's really compelling. But if it's a statement like this, I would agree to that. We don't want to force anyone. I'm not trying to say that the government should force anyone. That'll open up a lot more problems. But the premise of this guy, 8 Lights 8, is pretty straight on. I want to be rich so I can adopt children so they can have everything I didn't. Good for you. That's a good thing to do. And yes, I do encourage, if you do have financial stability, to adopt kids instead of having kids, even if you're rich. Gives kids a future instead of just bringing someone on that you think will have a future just by birth. Virginia Chichua. Well done for the video. Here's the thing, no one should be born in poverty. In rich countries, people are having kids so they can claim benefits, not prepared to work, and you have generations of families living like that. In poor countries where there is no social security, they rely on their children to bring in income, e.g. begging. Also, most uneducated and vulnerable choose to have children. The government, social media talks very little about this issue, and they won't promote the idea that poor people should have kids. By the way, I am coming from a poor family in Romania, but worked hard in school, have a stable job, have a house too, and of course single and no kids. Now, being rich doesn't mean you should have kids, but being poor, you should really think about it. Robert Vivian, I would also recommend having even more money to help your children start a career pathway. I am getting into the automotive industry, but my parents will never be able to afford a cheap car to work on, racing school, tools, a lot of stuff that I really need to be one of the best in that career. I'm not saying you need to have $10,000 for your kid, but expect to spend a bit to make your kid's life much better. Exactly. You know, we always complain that the future generation have it easier than we do, but if you think about it, that's the whole idea, right? You want your kids to have it easier than you. That's the whole point. You want to have the means so your children could have a better life than you did, and it goes forward like that. So that's the whole premise of all this. Myself. What? I couldn't agree with this anymore. If you don't have an extra, I don't know if that first sentence made sense. If you don't have an extra $1,000 a month after you pay all your bills, don't have kids. Yes, I agree. Working class. I've worked in welfare housing and I never saw so much children and animal neglect and abuse in my life. For the sake of kids, they need to ban giving out welfare checks to unfixed people. The incompetent have no right to force taxpayers to pay for their stupidity. We have to stop these incompetent bloodlines causing the suffering of innocent children. Hashtag truth hurts. Hashtag self-accountable. Yeah, I would agree with that, but we do still... I don't fully agree with that, logic where we're forcing the incompetent to get... We need to help people, There is... I'm not saying get rid of welfare altogether, but I think we need to limit it, and people need to take personal responsibility so we can limit it. Leonex. Having children is the most self-act you can do, especially if your situation is shit, poor, bad genes, or young people should not have children. People who struggle with life should not have children. When you have children, you're transferring your struggle to another person. Yeah, I agree with that. Of course, the main reason why people have children is because of will to live, a powerful force that is disguised as love, care, and intimacy, makes us do the most irrational. Yeah, I don't think people actually think about that sometimes, the survival of the fittest, passing on your genes to the future generation, but I can see that. It's a lot of people want to start families, media, everyone wants families to grow. That's the whole premise of the American dream, and probably in most countries. Alan Pickney, I can't stand poor people having kids. It will cost you financially for the rest of your life. Yep, I know. J. Rudy Morgan Clark, to end poverty or minimized, they shouldn't have any kids, none. They don't have right either. I agree, I think. It's a weird way to put a sentence, but okay. Sunam Hussein, you are right. If the rest of the world thought like you, it would solve a lot of problems. Yes, thank you. The root cause of poverty is not drugs, inequality, all that stuff. It's bringing a child into the world when you're not financially ready. ARZ271, why do stupid videos have millions of views, but this one only has 2,100? That's the problem with the world. Well, most people like entertainment and less people like education, so I guess that's the path we choose. Where does 20K come from? Is this US where medical services are super expensive? I don't know what you're talking about. I think it's probably in the video where I said some number like 20K, but correct me all you want. Please leave more comments, and I'm glad to accept all the criticism. The Godfather, finally a video that makes so much sense. Thank you. BB Gumbabe, the main reason I have little to no sympathy for poor people is because they take a bad situation and make it worse. by having kids. I do personally have sympathy for the poor, but they do make it worse by having kids when they cannot. I do talk about this in the video, and yeah. Not very social. I'll do a few more of this. Frankly, I always fantasize about a children of men situation anyway, where all the men in the world have gone barren, thus preventing women from getting pregnant, thus ensuring the population is stabilized and slowly shrinking when they start doing what mortals are bound to do anyway, die from old age when all else fails. Then the next generation follows suit till eventually no one to experience poverty. I haven't seen Children of Men. I heard it's a good movie, and I'll take your word for it. Salmi Silverman. Most people don't want to drink the Kool-Aid. Okay. Unicorn Soul. I agree. Too much contraceptives for unexpected, unplanned children. Too much or too little? I don't know. Willie Bill. Poverty sucks. Don't make it another person's problem. No more children. Yes, no more children if you cannot financially afford one. I talk about this and the exact number you should probably aim for. I think in the video it's about like 200,000 you'll be spending on a child until they reach the age of 18. So if you don't have that much, you're not properly raising a child. Most Armita Aryan. Most immigrants sleep in streets. Immigrants sleep in street, have more kids, unfortunately. I don't know if that's true, but I'll take your word for it. Cosm, this video reeks of blame the victim mentality. Oh yeah, this was 3 days ago. I talked about this. Who's the victim here? This is one of these negative comments. Who's the victim? Blame the victim? I'm not blaming the poor, but who's the victim here? I think you got this blame who the victim is. The victim is the child. It's not the poor family. They're the one causing it by being poor and having a child. Sure, it might not be their fault that they're poor, but having a child on top of being poor you're actually blaming the victim. You're not supposed to have kids if you're poor. I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to have a government mandate talk about that, but the victim is the child. I'm not blaming the child because they didn't have nothing to do with this. I'm blaming the parents who have children or who don't give them off to adoption if they do have a child and don't want to do something about it, and if they can't afford one. So that's the problem here. We are all human, but only a few get treated like humans. Probably, I guess. I mean, it's not sad to say that kids born to poor families need a better life, so why not tackle that issue? Kin Chan. The low-paying job is not normally a problem. Working 80 to 100 hours a week is solid as long as costs are kept well under control. There are low-cost cities and towns where there is work and living costs are cheaper. Biggest living costs are mortgage and rents usually. Correct. Make sure you have a buffer of capital. Living is very low mortgage, housing, etc. Find ways to increase income and decrease living costs further. They have a child with someone reliable, continue to increase income and reduce expenditure. Yes. Then you can have a kid. Nars Makababa. Sorry if I messed up that last name. Totally agree here. Set aside the government corruption in our country. Poor people are poor because they keep having babies without thinking what their offspring's future. Sadly. Yes, that's true. Please stop blaming anyone in the outside. We've seen lots of stories where poor people in bad situations grew up, worked hard, became rich. If they can do it, you can do it. Please do not blame outside factors, and don't have kids if you can't afford one. So true. I don't know what that means. This video deserves way more views. Thank you. The Kraken. What doesn't make sense from an evolutionary standpoint is that stupid people are having more kids at a faster rate than intelligent people. Yes, that is true. If stupid people are having more kids every generation, theoretically, natural selection is forcing populations to develop dumber brains. If that is true, selection pressure is favoring less intelligence in humans. Probably. I'm not a biologist, I guess. So I take your word at it. Mrs. V. I'm not even mad at this because it's the truth. Everyone here getting all butthurt are just triggered, punished by their own parents' poor financial choices, and that they're destitute themselves. You even stated some, so I don't know why they're still getting offended. Yes, Good job on this video. I never wanted any kids, and running into this video makes me not want to have any now unless if I actually do change my mind in later years. I want to be well educated with money as soon as possible and finally stable where my kids won't have to worry if mommy has to get evicted sleeping on the floor or worry about when is the next dinner going to be and come. Most of all, a reliable and financially stable father too. You may want to include that most parents don't plan on how they would like to fruitfully plan their children's lives at all too. Yes. Thank you. That's why I'm making this video, so we can talk about your comment and include stuff and have a conversation. Mita Arian, I thought, he probably commented again. Low educated and religious people are benefit collector are the bad parent. Okay, yes. Too bad everybody can't be rich. Someone has to be poor. Someone else can have $1 billion in the bank. Sarcasm? I don't know. Don't blame outside people. Remember. Cold, and I guarantee you the vast majority of poor people having kids isn't because of love, but rather lust, lack of planning, and not using birth control. Yes, that is true to a certain extent, but I'm not always going to say always because everyone's situation is different, but generally that could be the case. Mr. Mirth, defeating a sandwich only makes it tastier. Okay. Reflex, it should be illegal for anyone under $1 million income to have children. Maybe something so drastic will cause a better future for tomorrow for everyone. I do not advocate government mandates or laws like that. But yes, it would be technically if anyone under $1 million income can't have children. Obviously, that will be different. And we don't want to force things like that. But we want to have a real civil conversation. That's what this video is about. Yes, good point. Hey, this is another generation. Before considering to have children, check this video. Good stuff, Kyle. Thank you. It's true, I consume over 20% of our property, and my sis too, and my familia is one of the goods. By the way, another good video. Thank you. Ignorant. It's not the money, it's the morals. Are you agreeing with me, smiley face? Probably. I think so. Peppermint Snowdrift. I'll tell you why the poor shouldn't have children. There's nothing sure. The rich get rich and the poor get children. In the meantime, in between, ain't we got fun? Probably. Victoria, there are plenty of rich criminals. Okay, but that's not the point. The point is people born into poorer families associate themselves with poor people of their own socioeconomic circles. They interact with poor people. It's not more likely to have crimes. Rich people commit more white-collar crimes. Poor people commit more blue-collar crimes. So you could say, I don't know the numbers, that rich and poor commit crimes at the same rate. I don't think that's true, but I mean, whatever data you have, please show it, please share it. But this is the thing. Being poor makes you more desperate to do bad things. And that's just human nature. When you have nothing, you want something even more. Rico, great advice, good to hear it. What? Although in many cases, children gives motivation to parent to be more responsible and avoid to be a criminal. Thinking is imperative. For your first statistic, it's not actually 54%, but you're being misleading. It's 50% of people think it'll be $5,000 or less for the first year, not every year. Citation needs for your claim that poor people having kids is large infirmary. I didn't see any articles or study to back up. As for the look out at the dirty poor people outside of your office window, you're framing so badly. You assign the value that the dads aren't happy with their family. You're using confirmation bias to peddle the image of a typical poor person. For poor people going to prison, you just gloss over the problem that they're given harsher sentences and have little to no recourses. Shouldn't we as society fix that? And finally, you're using the classical lazy, dirty, poor family to base your video on. There are many impoverished families that have children become successful as you define it. Poverty is an issue, but ultimately the parents are the largest factor. Thank you for saying that last sentence because that's the point of this video. The parents are the factor, and based on decisions, no matter who they are. They can be rich, they can be poor. Rich parents can be bad parents. Poor parents are usually the best parents. But when it comes to financial advantages in life, of course, being rich helps. Being in poverty is just going to make the mountain even steeper for the kid to climb. There are a lot of children from poor families who have become successful, as you said, and what I've said in this video. But it's unlikely. It's less likely. We only see it in what professional athletes, and that's only like a handful of people. So yeah, I should, look at my stats more, but overall premise holds. Dan Some objections. Happiness is not always grounded in money. Actually, the wealthiest seem to be the most depressed and sad people in our society. Yes, I know. 2, poor families can raise decent children. You need a lot to raise a child. Money is just one of the things. Some people lack money, some lack self-control, yet it still works. Kinda. I don't know, that kinda muted your point here, but money is a big factor. Don't get me wrong. That is probably the overriding factor above anything else, especially if the parents are decent. They will help the child have all the advantages in life. Number 3, not everyone's life goal is to be rich. Maybe. You can't say that it is better for your child to not be born if you cannot be sure whether it would be okay with that. Okay, but it's your responsibility as their parent. You have to make decisions for them, and your decision to give birth to them is your decision, not them, okay with that. That doesn't even make sense. And the premise, not everyone's goal is to be rich. I think a lot of people, of course not everyone wants to be rich. A monk probably wouldn't want to be rich, but maybe some of them would. A lot more people would than say they wouldn't. But technically you're right, it is good to think first what your child might become depending on your income and position in society before actually bringing one into this world. And then Aiden Vids. Okay, boomer. I think this is all the things. I think I replied to this. Classic, thanks. 10 months ago. I agree. Okay. So that's all the top comments, I think. And the video is why poor people shouldn't have kids. And please watch this video before commenting or liking or disliking, Poverty is a big issue in this country and the entire world, especially in poorer countries, but it's more prevalent, more, shocking in the United States and first world countries because we're not supposed to be in such dire straits, but apparently we are. And the one problem is because parents with the lack of financial means keep having kids for various reasons. And even if, I talk about this, even if abortion is not part of your thinking, you can always still give birth to the child and put them up for adoption. Or something else, which would give the kid a better life than they would have with you because you lack the financial means to take care of them. And a lot of poverty can be overcome because your decision as a parent, as a mother and a father, to just decide not to have kids. You can have a cat, a dog, something or someone that you're not putting so much pressure, not so many financial resources. As I said in this video, if you can barely take care of yourself, do not bring someone else into this world and try to take care of them because it's not gonna go great. Sometimes it will, of course, but most of the time it will not turn out what you want. It's not going to turn out great for the kid when they're adults, and it's not going to turn out great for society. So that's this video. I hope you learned something. I hope everyone who commented learned something and more people can comment so I can make more videos about this, about me talking about all this. And as always, take care of your money. This episode has been brought to you by Smart Money Parenting. I created Smart Money Parenting as a way to teach parents how to educate their kids about money. By starting at an early age using incentives, habits, and money, your kids will grow up to become financially literate adults. We learn almost everything in school, but the one thing most people don't learn is simple budgeting, saving, and even investing. We're brought into a world that revolves around money, yet our kids lack the knowledge and preparation to take on that world. Let's change that. Smart Money Parenting is a course, but also an investment in your kid's future. There are details to the course in the description along with a 20% off discounts code you can use when enrolling. Give your kids the future they deserve.